Table saw incident 1944. On May 12, 1944, in Dyess, Arkansas, Jack was working at the high school agriculture shop cutting oak trees into firewood. He was using a large industrial table-mounted circular saw without supervision or a blade guard. While pushing a piece of wood into the machine, the wood caught the blade or a knot incorrectly, causing a violent shift. Jack was pulled forward directly into the spinning blade. The saw severely mangled his abdomen. Despite surviving the initial impact and undergoing a major surgery, the injuries and subsequent internal infections were too severe. He passed away a week later on May 20, 1944. Nail gun incident 2004. On April 19, 2004, the 39-year-old Isidro Mejia was working on the roof of a home under construction in the Antelope Valley area of Los Angeles, California. While climbing the scaffolding, Isidro Mejia lost his footing and fell onto a coworker who was operating a high-powered, automatic nail gun. As both men tumbled to the ground, they tried to grab each other for balance. In the chaos, the coworker accidentally gripped the trigger tightly, causing the tool to rapid fire. The tool drove 6 3.5-inch nails directly into Mejia's head and neck at close range. He was immediately rushed to the hospital via helicopter at the Providence Holy Cross Medical Center in Mission Hills, Los Angeles. An X-ray imaging revealed a shocking distribution of the fasteners. 3 nails had penetrated deep into his brain. 1 nail lodged into his spinal column, just millimeters below the base of his skull. 1 nail was embedded in his face. 1 nail was driven into his skull/neck area. But after those accidents, Isidro Mejia miraculously survived. The mechanical chain shot incident. A 47-year-old logger was sitting inside the enclosed, reinforced cab of a mechanical timber harvester, thinning a stand of trees. He was operating and cutting the tree. As the harvester's high-velocity chainsaw bar cut into a trunk, the chain snapped under extreme hydraulic tension. This caused a phenomenon called a chain shot, where broken chain links are whipped outward like a bullet, traveling at speeds over 1,000 km/h or 620 mph. The broken piece of steel chain shot directly toward the machine's cab. It possessed enough kinetic energy to penetrate right through the half-inch thick polycarbonate window, which was industry rated for safety, and struck the operator in the neck, killing him instantly. Meat grinder incident 2019. In June 2019, inside a processed meats production factory in Barangay Mansaya, Lapuz District, Iloilo City, Philippines, an 18-year-old worker named Jomar Junco began what seemed like a normal day on the job. Jomar had only been working at the factory for about 2 weeks. Like many young employees, he was still learning the routines and responsibilities that came with operating the equipment inside the facility. On that day, he reported for work and took his position near one of the processing machines. At one point during his shift, Jomar was alone at his workstation. The machinery continued running as he carried out his tasks. Then, on Saturday morning, he reportedly reached inside the machine, possibly attempting to retrieve or adjust something during the production process. In an instant, his right hand became caught in the machine's moving blades. Within seconds, the machine dragged him further into the equipment. What happened next was so brutal that it shocked his coworker, who arrived past 7 a.m. He found the upper half of Junco's body inside the mixer while his legs were twitching. His coworker immediately switched off the machine. But it was too late. Jomar Junco died at that meat grinder. Wood chipper incident 2025. In December 2025, in Lower Southampton Township, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, 68-year-old John Iskra was helping a neighbor clear brush using a wood chipper. Iskra was no stranger to heavy machinery. A former steel mill worker and owner of his own landscaping business, he had decades of experience and had reportedly owned the wood chipper involved for many years. That afternoon, around 4:40 p.m., he was feeding branches and debris into the machine as part of the cleanup work. It was a routine task he had likely performed countless times before. But in a split second, something went terribly wrong. The branch that he was holding or a piece of his clothing became caught in the chipper's powerful feed mechanism. The machine immediately grabbed hold and began pulling him forward. What happened next was horrifying. Despite his experience, the force of the machine was overwhelming. Before anyone could react, part of Iskra's upper body was violently drawn into the wood chipper up to his shoulders. Emergency crews were dispatched to the scene, but the accident happened too quickly. By the time first responders arrived, John Iskra had already died. Excavator maintenance incident 2023. On April 17, 2023, a 36-year-old heavy equipment mechanic arrived at a construction site to repair a large excavator. That day, his task was to install a swing drive and new hydraulic hoses on a de-energized excavator. Around 9 a.m., a supervisor stopped by to check on the work and arranged for replacement hoses to be delivered before leaving the site. Later in the morning, an assistant joined him. Together, they completed the swing drive installation just before noon. Once the job was finished, the assistant left, while the mechanic remained behind to install the hydraulic hoses on his own. Before departing, another supervisor asked if he needed anything. The mechanic replied that he was all set and would finish the remaining work himself. While installing the hydraulic hoses inside the excavator's recessed swing drive compartment, the mechanic was working in an extremely tight and confined space. To reach the components, he had to position himself deep inside the mechanical bay. While repairing, he slipped and fell into a head-down position inside the compartment. The space was so cramped that he became trapped among the machine structure and the rigging equipment being used for the repair, including ratchet straps and a come-along hoist. Unable to free himself, the mechanic remained wedged upside down inside the excavator. Because he was completely alone at the job site, there was nobody nearby to hear calls for help or realize that anything had gone wrong. As the afternoon passed, phone calls and text messages from his assistant, supervisors, and family went unanswered. Hours later, concern began to grow when his wife reported that he had never returned. A family friend eventually obtained the location of the site and drove there to look for him. What the friend found was devastating. The mechanic was still trapped inside the excavator's swing drive compartment, hanging upside down and completely unresponsive. Emergency responders were called immediately, but there was nothing they could do. If you liked this video, like and subscribe for more content like this.